I'm the Bald Book Geek, and this list has proven really hard to make. I didn't know whether to call it the worst books I read or the most overrated, so here are 5 overrated books of 2018. I've been going back and forth, and I've made lists and lists and lists and endless lists, and it's just proven really hard. I don't really keep books that I don't like, and I don't indulge books that I don't like. If I'm not enjoying the book, I'm not going to finish it. It's just that simple. And all of these books I've finished or I've read, and I just left me meh. Not horrendous, but meh. One of them I just downright hate. And I'm including some series in this, so, and these are going to be quite unpopular opinions, but... Okay, where do we start? The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This book came out sort of the start of 2018. It's YA fantasy, and I really, really hated it. Actually, no, I'm going to rephrase that. I didn't hate it. I actually really enjoyed it, but it wasn't that good either. I mean, the first half of it was really good, and then it just went meh. And it just, everyone was talking about this book. I couldn't get away from this book. And it just didn't live up to the hype. There was so much press, so much promotion, and I just came out of it at the end like, and this is what? It's not a bad book, it's just not worthy of the hype that it received, and I feel like it was banking on success of other series. Sarah J. Maas, A Court of Thrones and Roses. I read all of Sarah J. Maas's books last year for a video. And I dislike Sarah J. Maas as a writer, full stop. But again, this was a book that everyone told me to read. You're going to like it. It's not like her other books. And it was just the same. It had that same fanficky vibe that a lot of her books have. I don't think she's a very good writer. I don't feel any connection to her books. I don't like her characters, I don't like her world building. She can't build a good world at all. And as a fantasy writer, you have to. And it just irritated me, no end. And I will say this, the cover is pretty though. But that's probably the best thing about the book. The Mistborn Trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. Again, one of those writers that all of my friends who are really into fantasy tell me to read. And I sat down and I decided I'm going to sit down, I'm going to read the trilogy. I ended up attempting to read the books, hated them. I don't get on with his writing style, so I sat through the audiobooks. Never again. I will never read another Brandon Sanderson. I've tried his books countless times in my life and they just don't work for me. I find he's too, for want of a better word, I've read far better fantasy novels, far better writing than Brandon Sanderson, and he's not as good as other people, I'm afraid. Sorry. He's just, it didn't grab me. I don't enjoy his work, and he irritates me more than anything. I also find him a bit of an egotist. I don't know why. There's an ego to his work that, as someone that studied literature, irritates me. Another Sarah J. Maas book. Throne of Glass. This is not an overrated book. This book I downright hated. I hated every single one of this series because essentially it's a fantasy version of the Hunger Games. That's what it read like. Take Katniss, put her in a fantasy world and write a fanfic. And that's what this screamed of. You could tell this book was aimed at teenagers and more particularly, and I don't mean this in a horrible way, it was aimed at teenage girls. It was self-empowerment fan fiction with a Lego brick boring character that was designed for the reader to put their own emotions and feelings on. It was horrible. There is no redemption for these books. Sarah J. Maas, oh god. I've done a video about Sarah J. Maas. Go and check out that video. I really detest her work, and Throne of Glass is the bottom of the barrel. Six of Crows. Again, a fantasy novel that everyone told me I should read. It reminded me of a YA Game of Thrones, and that's not a compliment. But the Game of Thrones is a beautiful, beautiful world building. And yes, I will say George R. R. Martin is not the world's greatest writer, but he's very good at telling a story, and he's very good at characters, and he's very good at world building. The writer of the Six of Crows series is neither. I don't see the hype around these books. The Six of Crows made my ears bleed. I tried the physical books, I couldn't do it. I got the ebooks from my library and I wanted to cry. Definitely not worth the hype at all. And then I decided to try the audiobooks and I gave up halfway through towards the end of book 2, I just gave up. No, actually, the start of book 3, I got like quarter of the way in and I was like, I'm done. I can't listen to this anymore. I can't enjoy it. I didn't like the world. I didn't like the characters. I didn't like the whole everything she created. And again, it's that self-fulfillment fanfiction vibe, which really irritates me. It feels like there was a lot, but what bugged me the most is, to me, these books had so much potential. There was some really good stuff in there. And I feel like the writer just didn't have the guts to do it. There was a lot of potential and a lot leading up to some things, and it didn't work. And I'm going to give one honourable mention, a sixth series, I should say, the Illumination Files. J. Kristoff. I love J. Kristoff. He's one of my favourite writers, and the Nevernight series has become one of my favourite fantasy series, and I'm hyped for book 3. Yet these books don't get much love on BookTube. The Illumination Files get love on BookTube. The Illumination Files irritate me no end. And it's not because they're bad. I actually enjoy the story, but it's a very generic science fiction story. Out of all the books that I've read that involve J. Kristoff, they're the weakest. And their gimmick. That's probably why they get so much attention as well, the gimmick. Because the books are told in emails, messages, documents, and so on. It's told in that style. It's not told in a conventional book. And I think to be honest, if they were conventional novels, I don't think people would care about them as much. They're good, but they're not mind-blowing. And beyond the gimmick, that's what makes them unique. But it's a science fiction story that you can read 1,000 times over. Yeah, that is my overrated books that I read in 2018. I'm sorry this has taken so long. I've kind of had to whittle this list, because I've read a lot of tripe. I've read books that are bad, and I've read books that are amazing. And like I said, these books just didn't work for me on so many levels. I could do a video on each one alone. So I'm going to sign off. Tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. And all of my social media links are in the doobly-doo. So I will talk to you guys later. Bye.